In many parts of the world, $1 disappears almost instantly. A cup of coffee, a parking meter, maybe not even enough for a bottle of water. But in Tuvalu, a country so remote that many people struggle to point to it on a map, that same dollar still moves through daily life in surprisingly human ways. And on islands surrounded by endless Pacific Ocean, even the smallest amount of money can tell a much bigger story. Tuvalu doesn't sound like most countries. There are no highways, no train systems, no crowds pouring out of subway stations. Instead, you hear waves hitting coral shores, children playing near the water, scooters passing slowly down narrow roads, and sometimes, the roar of a plane landing on Funafudi's tiny airstrip, a runway so small that locals use it like a public park when flights aren't arriving. The islands feel quiet, almost fragile. Palm trees bend in the sea wind. Fishing boats rest beside colorful homes. And life moves at a rhythm that feels very far away from the modern rush most of the world lives in. Here, $1 equals roughly 1.5 Tuvaluan dollars. It doesn't sound like much. But on islands where nearly everything arrives by ship from thousands of kilometers away, what that money buys becomes surprisingly meaningful. A single dollar in Tuvalu can still get something warm to eat. At small roadside stalls, simple snacks like coconut bread or fried dough are sold for loose coins and small bills. The smell of coconut cream and fried batter drifts through the humid ocean air. Fresh fish is part of everyday life here, not luxury food. Tuna, reef fish, octopus, often caught locally the same morning. And while imported food is expensive, local catches still help keep everyday meals affordable for many families. You might also find plates of palaka, a traditional swamp-grown root crop that has fed Pacific Island communities for generations. In a place where farmland is scarce and the ocean shapes everything, foods like this aren't just meals. They're survival. And then there's something many outsiders don't expect. In Tuvalu, some of the most valuable things in daily life aren't things money buys at all. Neighbors share fish catches. Families exchange food. Boats are borrowed. Children move freely between homes. On islands this small, community itself becomes part of the economy. But the most unforgettable thing about Tuvalu might not be the food. It's the runway. Funafudi International Airport cuts directly through the island like a strip of concrete dividing the ocean in half. There are so few flights that when planes are gone, the runway transforms into public space. Kids play soccer there. Families walk across it at sunset. Teenagers ride bicycles down the middle of an active airport runway. There are very few places on Earth where aviation infrastructure becomes part of neighborhood life. And somehow, that single image explains Tuvalu perfectly. This is a country where space is limited, resources are limited, and isolation shapes almost everything. So people adapt, not through massive technology or giant skyscrapers, but through flexibility, trust, and community. Even the airport becomes shared space. Daily life here also reveals a very different kind of economy from what most people are used to. There are small family-owned shops selling canned food, rice, phone credit, and fishing supplies. Cash still matters heavily. But mobile phones and digital communication are slowly changing life even on remote islands like these. Imported goods can cost shockingly high amounts because nearly everything arrives by cargo ship. A simple snack or household item may travel farther to reach Tuvalu than many people travel in their entire lives. That's why local fishing, family networks, and informal exchange remain so important. On islands where supply chains are fragile, relationships become infrastructure. And despite the country's tiny size, modern global issues are impossible to ignore here. Climate change isn't an abstract conversation in Tuvalu. The ocean is rising around the islands in real time. Some scientists believe Tuvalu could become one of the first countries heavily threatened by sea level rise during this century. For many locals, the future is tied directly to the water surrounding them every day. Of course, this doesn't mean life in Tuvalu is easy. Jobs are limited. Imported goods are expensive. Young people often leave for education or work opportunities overseas. And while $1 can still buy small everyday items, larger costs like housing materials, fuel, and transportation remain difficult realities for many families. But when you look closely at daily life here, you begin to understand that value works differently on islands like these. In the end, maybe the most memorable thing about Tuvalu isn't what $1 can buy. It's the image of children playing soccer on an airport runway in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, while waves crash just meters away. A reminder that some places survive not because they have abundance, but because people learn how to share what little they have. And maybe that's why $1 still feels surprisingly meaningful here. If you had exactly $1 in Tuvalu, would you spend it on food, save it for supplies, or trade it for a moment on one of the most isolated islands on Earth? And which country should be next?